Good evening, I'm Robert Lawson with NUCAT News right here in New Ulm. In local news, MnDOT held an open house at the New Ulm Airport. The Minnesota Music Hall of Fame inducted 6 new members. The New Ulm City Council approved closing part of First Street South this summer and fall for the New Ulm Farmers Markets. The CADA director visited with the Brown County United Way's director for a discussion on the Living United program on NUCAT. The New Ulm Club held its 70th annual Athletic Appreciation Event banquet. The Brown County Board of Commissioners held a public hearing for the Oak Hills project for approving issuance of a healthcare facilities revenue note. The League of Minnesota Women Voters sponsored a talk recently on solar energy at the public library. The Brown County Sheriff Jason Seidel said there have been a number of suspicious fires in the county. The New Ulm City Council and Rotary Club held a meeting to discuss the development of George's Ballroom. In state news, a Minnesota Democratic senator was charged with burglary, and 6,000 fentanyl pills were seized and 6 people arrested in Mankato. The AG is suing a Fridley auto dealer over deceptive practices, and another Minnesota sports betting bill is being introduced. In national news, updates on Trump's hush money trial. The SEC is being sued over mass surveillance of U.S. stock purchases. Pro-Palestinian protests are spreading across U.S. college campuses. And after a manhunt, a former cop is accused of child abduction and a double homicide. In world headlines, an Iranian rapper was sentenced to death over protesting. The Haitian prime minister has resigned. Accusations of torture and mass graves in Gaza. And French President Emmanuel Macron wants a stronger Europe with less military reliance on the United States. Welcome to NUCAT News. I'm Robert Lawson. MnDOT held an open house at the New Ulm Airport to discuss the Highway 14 and Highland Avenue roundabout project taking place this spring.
My name is Bailey Wolf. I'm the project engineer for this project. So we are doing the North Highland roundabout, changing the intersection to a single lane roundabout configuration. The construction will be starting mid to late May, finishing up in mid to late July.
My name is Matt Thiebert. I'm the project manager for this project. As part of the project, we'll have to detour traffic. So what we will have is a closure at the intersection of North Highland Avenue and Highway 14. The detour is shown here in blue. So if you're coming from the west, heading east on Highway 14, you'll have to head north on County Road 12 and then southeast on County Road 29. That'll bring you to the signal at the intersection of North Garden Street and Highway 14.
The Minnesota Music Hall of Fame held an induction ceremony at the Best Western in New Ulm. They inducted 6 new members. The inductees were Johnny Mons, Dan Watuki, Crow, Pamela McNeil, Brian Wickland, and Fritz Otto Reuter. It was the 35th annual induction ceremony held by the organization. The New Ulm City Council approved the closure of a portion of First South Street from Broadway to the public parking entrance on Thursdays from 1:30 to 6:30 p.m. and Saturdays from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. from June 20th to October 5th for the New Ulm Farmers Markets.
Well, I can say that I'm really excited that we're doing this and that the city's going, or the chamber's taking this on and wanting to expand it. I was up in Grand Forks a couple of years ago, and their farmers market on Saturday is the place to go on Saturday. It's where you bring the kids, it's where you bring the dogs, you eat, there's music, there's crafts, it's just so fun. And I hope, and we're not as large as they are, of course, but I've always thought we could do so much more with the farmers market. So I'm really glad that the chamber's going this route and really wanting to push it, and I can see it really becoming a thing as well.
Brown County United Way Executive Director Sandra Uni visited with Development and Communications Director for CADA, Kristen Walters.
Our advocates also do a lot of referring to other agencies, so we try to help the folks who are serving get in touch with other basic resources.
They discussed the organization's role in community and the programs they offer to survivors of domestic abuse. CADA is a nonprofit organization serving victims and survivors of relationship abuse and sexual violence throughout south central Minnesota. They are based in Mankato and provide services in Blue Earth, Brown, Faribault, LeSueur, Martin, Nicollet, Sibley, Waseca, and Watonwan counties. The 70th annual New Ulm Athletic Club Appreciation Banquet took place April 13th at Martin Luther College. There were 6 athletes from each New Ulm High School honored as each school's male and female Outstanding Athlete of the Year. Female athletes are Afton Hulke, New Ulm High School, Mackenzie Marseth, Minnesota Valley Lutheran, and Jenna Hodevec. Male athletes are James Osborne, New Ulm High School, Ben Pearson from MVL, and Javon Wilford from CHS. The Brown County Board of Commissioners held a public hearing for the Oak Hills project, approving the issuance of a healthcare facilities revenue note. Chris Verda from Freiberger Law Firm addressed the board. The League of Minnesota Women Voters recently held a presentation on solar energy at the New Ulm Public Library. On April 11th, visitors attended the advantages and costs of wind and solar presentation. The Brown County Sheriff's Office, led by Jason Seidel, says there have been a number of suspicious fires in the county over the past couple of months on or near CRP wildlife management areas. The Fire Department and Sheriff's Office has responded to 16 of such calls since March 1st. Last year, during the same time frame, they only responded to a single call and only 2 calls in 2022. They took place in Mulligan Township between Comfrey and Highway 4. The New Ulm City Council invited the public to attend a Rotary Club meeting at the New Ulm Country Club on April 23rd to discuss future development plans for the historic George's Ballroom. The guest speaker was Dan Fisher from Coldwell Banker Commercial. No official city actions took place from the council. A Minnesota Democrat in the state Senate has been charged with first-degree burglary. According to reports, she burglarized the home of her stepmother with dementia, attempting to retrieve her father's ashes. Senator Nicole Mitchell, 49, of Woodbury, was arrested in Detroit Lakes at that same house. Senate Republicans are seeking an ethics investigation with a complaint filed against Mitchell. 6 people were arrested and 6,000 pills were confiscated by agents from the Minnesota River Valley Drug Task Force in April during a drug bust in Mankato. The agency reported major increases in fentanyl and pill seizures for the last several years and attribute rising overdose to these drugs. Attorney General Keith Ellison announced he is suing a Fridley car lot for deceptive business practices. Ellison and MCS, Midwest Car Search, broke almost every rule in almost every sale they made at the dealership, according to Ellison. The complaint states that they broke the law by misrepresenting the quality of the cars they were selling, along with dishonest service contracts and high interest rates. Minnesota State Senator Jeremy Miller, Republican in Winona, has announced an updated sports betting bill aimed at bringing various stakeholders and legislators on both sides of the aisle together and legalize sports betting in Minnesota. The Minnesota Sports Betting Act 2.0 builds on previous legislative efforts, including last year's Minnesota Sports Betting Bill proposal to finally legalize sports betting in Minnesota in 2024. The new bill incorporates feedback Senator Miller has received from constituents, legislators, and a variety of stakeholders. The state Senate bill includes amendments that would reportedly bring more revenue to the state. Donald Trump, the man running for president of the United States, was back in court for the controversial hush money case in New York involving an alleged encounter with an adult entertainment star named Stormy Daniels. On Thursday, April 25th, testimony from witnesses were heard in the Supreme Court. Trump has argued in court and on the campaign trail that presidents should be immune from criminal convictions and sentences, an assertion that a previous judge in the case had dismissed. A new lawsuit has been filed against the United States Security and Exchange Commission, asserting the SEC's data collection of the public stock purchases is completely unlawful and puts American financial data at risk. The New Civil Liberties Alliance, NCLA, filed the suit Tuesday, April 23rd. It claims the agency's Consolidated Audit Trail, or CAT program, collects mass data that includes personally identifiable data. It does so by forcing brokers, exchanges, clearing agencies, and alternative trading systems to provide every American investor's trades to a centralized database without any authorization from Congress. They say it's a violation of the Fourth Amendment, which prohibits unreasonable government search and seizure of private information. The CAT program, developed under Obama, is a multi-billion-dollar self-appropriated fund powered by fees the SEC collects through investment transactions, NCLA says. Pro-Palestinian rallies and protests are spreading across college campuses in the United States as the Israeli Defense Forces continue their war campaign against Hamas in Gaza. An untold number of protesters have been arrested across the nation, including 100 demonstrators at Columbia University alone. Elias Huszar, a former Washington police officer, is accused of killing his ex-wife and girlfriend, as well as abducting a child before he died in a standoff with police in Oregon. The missing 1-year-old child was found safe and taken into police custody. The United States Federal Trade Commission has put an end to most non-compete agreements nationwide. Critics of the practice have long said that the agreements are tantamount to abuse, unfair trade practices, and even in some cases a form of monopoly. The agency reportedly reviewed more than 26,000 public comments before its final ruling April 23rd. On to the world news. An Iranian court has sentenced a dissident rapper to death over protesting the 2022 death of Masha Amini. The United Nations human rights officials criticized the move. The rapper has been in jail for a year and a half already. Haiti's Prime Minister Ariel Henry announced his resignation on Thursday, April 25th. He will cede power to a transitional council. The country has been racked by violence from gangs controlled by people like Barbecue, a local gangster near Port-au-Prince. Henry said the time was right for him to step down. There are reports of mass graves and torture in Gaza, according to Al Jazeera. The Palestinian Civil Defense says it will cooperate with an independent investigation into 3 separate mass graves containing nearly 400 bodies. Several Israeli leaders are demanding answers as crews dig up corpses buried in Khan Yunis. French President Emmanuel Macron says Europe needs a stronger defense against a new right-wing trend developing in various parts of the world, including Russia, whom he cited as an example. Macron says the continent should rely less on American military support and begin rebuilding its own. That's your local, national, and world news. From the NUCAT studios, I'm Robert Lawson.